Good evening and welcome to our latest Teller Medical Teller Tuesday webinar. We are broadcasting this live on Tuesday, November 2nd for those that might be watching on demand after the fact, and for those that are with us live, nice to be with you. I am Dr. Jeff Lehrman, podiatrist and Teller Medical founding member and Teller Medical shareholder. Tonight's webinar welcomes our guests from Thrive Orthopedics, who we will introduce in a moment. Tonight's webinar, as is the case with all of our other webinars, is recorded and available on the Teller Medical website after the fact. We've been doing this for a long time now, definitely over a year, maybe 2 years now, with these regularly scheduled webinars. So there is a really nice webinar, really nice library of webinars now available at the Teller Medical website, which is tellermedical.com, no spaces or dots or anything, tellermedical.com. You can see we're pointing to it with those red arrows there in the top right-hand corner of the Teller Medical website. You can see the word webinars, and that's where you can watch these on demand, pause, rewind, get the slides. Tons of information available there. If you don't know what Teller Medical is, this is a good opportunity to learn. If you're already with us and you're already a member, maybe there'll be some refresher here. But for those that do not know, Teller Medical is a group purchasing organization, which means all of our members are purchasing as one group, which allows tremendous negotiating power and allows the group to hire experts to negotiate on our behalf. So for those of us that are providers, when we are in our offices doing what we should be doing as providers, we have experts and professionals working on our behalf, negotiating better purchasing prices for us, and they have the power because we are purchasing as such a large group. I've said this on these before, but I think it's such a powerful lesson that sometimes in our businesses, if we want to be more profitable, we might spend a lot of time thinking about how can we bring more money in. We can also improve profits by sending less money out. So in many cases, it's not necessarily working harder, but maybe managing our businesses in a little bit more of a smarter fashion. And one very easy way to do that is by being a Teller Medical member. And if you are a member, purchasing through Teller Medical. If you're not sure, if you're listening to this and thinking, well, I think I already have a pretty good price, or I've been buying from so-and-so for 15 years, I think I have a pretty good deal there, let us check it out for you. Teller Medical has staff that will run the numbers for you. You can send in your latest purchasing order, or right when you open up the box and you get the list of all the stuff that was in there and what you paid for it, you could send that in and they'll tell you this is what it would have cost had you purchased it through Teller, and you can see how much you might be able to save. You can do that by emailing us using the email address that's on the screen here, admin@tellermedical.com, and free of charge, staff will happily provide you with a complimentary supply cost analysis. With that introduction, I will transition this to Dr. Ira Krauss, president of Teller Medical, who will introduce tonight's speakers.
Thanks, Dr. Lehrman, and I really appreciate everybody being here. Jeff, you speak with such ease. I'm very jealous at how easy everything flows out of your mouth. I want to add a couple of things, and I think it's really important. Teller Medical just isn't a company that's going to provide you with the best price on a widget. We want to introduce things to your practice that are going to help get you better patient outcomes, and not only give you better patient outcomes, but benefit the bottom line, as Jeff was talking about in the practice. We're going to talk about carbon fiber tonight, which is something that I've been using for a very, very long time, and we'll talk about that. The other thing is, we're a family here at Teller Medical. I know that may sound corny and may sound strange, but we really are here for podiatrists and for the growth of the profession. We've already given $50,000 in student scholarships for the future podiatrists that graduate from school. We work with companies that support podiatric medicine. I know Joey doesn't want to hear it all the time. Most times you hear I'm the wife of or I'm the husband of, but Joey is the son of Dr. Patrick DeHeer, who is well renowned on his own as a member of the APMA board, an expert on Aquinas, and the developer of the IQ brace. So I guess I want you all to know that we are not just here to sell you the best product, but we want to make your practice better and make your patient outcomes better. And the other thing is, there are so many things that Taylor can do that people are not aware of, whether it's getting bottled water or getting better prices on your credit card processing. What I would implore you to do is anytime you're going to make a purchase for your practice, reach out to one of our salespeople at Taylor Medical and find out if we can help make you acquire that product at a better price, at a better cost savings. We've been very fortunate with what we've done. I can tell you that other than during PPE, when things went crazy for those type of products, our prices have actually gone down over the years that we've been doing things, because we've achieved higher tier levels of people purchasing products. So, you know, it may be that some of the smaller boutique products that are not on a tiered level, there may have been some minor cost increases, but overall as a company, we've done really well with our vendors. With enough of that being said, I want to move on to the topic at hand tonight, which is carbon fiber AFOs, which truly is something that was very helpful to me in my practice. We have two people here that are going to speak. Our main speaker is going to be Kris Kail. He's an undergrad at University of Indianapolis. My condolences. He graduated from Northwestern University O&P program. He's ABC accredited, certified prosthetist and orthotist, practicing for over 21 years. Took over as owner of Prevail Prosthetist and Orthotics in 2018. He's a member of the American Academy of Orthopedics and Prosthetics member. He's a residency director, and he's been a consultant for Thrive with product development. I will share with you that APMA has a close relationship with the O&P societies in helping to negotiate and advocate for reimbursement for our providers who are providing these services to our patients. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kris and Joey. Oh, I forgot to say Joey. I already gave you his speech, but Joey's the senior sales director for IQ Medical. We've seen him around for a long time. When he started with us, he had no wife and no children. Now he's got one wife and two children, not two wives, sorry. And he is the co-founder of Thrive Orthopedics and has been in the foot and ankle implant and DME business since 2013. Gentlemen, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'm going to disappear, and we'll see you shortly.
Thank you.
Joey, we can't hear you.
Your audio is not on.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Tonight, we just wanted to educate all the Taylor members about carbon fiber AFOs and, kind of where they fit into the podiatry setting. So Kris has been a consultant with us, and he's kind of really educated us a lot as a manufacturer, because my background is in podiatry. So we wanted to bring him into this conversation and kind of give you guys, the view of somebody who's using these types of products on a weekly basis. A little bit about Thrive. We started in 2017. We're based in Indianapolis, and our primary focus is podiatry and then the O&P market as well. So we started out just selling a basic carbon fiber AFO here, and we're essentially private labeling this thing, and it was a pretty good product. It was lightweight. One of the issues, common issues with anterior cuff carbon fiber AFOs is that there can be a little bit of tibial pressure. So this one had a tibial cutout, which was good because it was able to relieve some of that pressure. And we were able to offer this product at a good price to the Taylor members. So I think we've had this Easy Stride Trim Air available to Taylor members for a little over 2 years. However, we we did collect a lot of feedback, and we found out we had a lot of room for improvement in terms of the product itself. Patients are wearing these things every day. And depending on activity level, durability is always an issue. So they're breaking, their foot plates snapping, the strut is breaking. And with same or similar, you're looking at every 5 years for reimbursement. And most of the companies only offer a 1-year warranty. And then the other thing that, and I'm sure Kris will talk about this, but the strut placement as well is pretty important. If the strut placement is wrong, these are designed to have zero contact with malleolus. So if that strut placement is off just a little bit in the design, you can literally rub a lot of patients the wrong way, and they can develop ulcers, and it's just, you shouldn't even be dispensing the brace in the first place. And finally, we thought there was room for improvement in terms of the aesthetic of the product and the soft goods. So during COVID, we kind of took a look at our product and our business, and we said, look, now's the perfect time. Everything was shut down. Now's the perfect time to work on product development. So we're really proud of what we came out with. The F3 AFO, it has a really nice aesthetic finish. We were able to double the warranty. So industry standard is 1 year. Ours is 2 years. We still have the same good price that we had with the previous product. We changed the design a little bit to have more contact with the calf, and moved the strut placement just a little bit. And what we found is that we're not running into those same issues with malleolus contact. And the other thing is, especially, we're going to talk about other indications that you guys see more commonly in podiatry, but in O&P, they're getting a lot of referrals for stroke patients with drop foot, or maybe MS patients, and a lot of these patients have dexterity issues. So we kept that in mind, and we kept the end user in mind. And one of the cool features that we're really proud of is this magnetic buckle. It's a patented product made by a European company called Fidlock. And essentially, if a patient is having dexterity issues, the Velcro is kind of a pain. And like I said, these patients have to use this thing every day. So with that Velcro buckle, they just have to move it in front of where the other magnet piece is, and it snaps right into place. So it's all those small attention to details that I think is really going to help with the long-term patient compliance. And with that, I'm going to pass it off to Kris, and he's going to get a little bit more in depth in terms of the product itself and when to dispense it and how to dispense it.
All right. Thanks, Joe. First of all, I'm not a sales rep, so I'm not going to sell you guys anything, but I will say that, one thing that's nice about Thrive is that they are trying to develop a brace that's good for patients. Whereas I get sales reps coming into my office all the time trying to sell me carbon fiber AFOs, and they're really not paying attention to the end user. And Thrive has really tried to pay attention to what I've said about developing AFOs, and I think we're on the right track. It's not perfect yet, but we're there. So like I said, I'm a practitioner. I'm an orthotist, prosthetist. I've been practicing for 21 years. And I've seen a lot of change in our field, in the O&P field. And podiatry is one area that I like to work with. I know you guys, we're all struggling with insurance and payments and everything, and the purpose of me being in this is not to refer to orthotists and prosthetists, but knowing that you guys can fit some of these braces as well, and then us being there as support if you need help with any type of their bracing. So with that said, we're just kind of get started. for the O&P community, these are the areas that we see a lot of patient referrals from. So in the podiatry world, what we normally see from you guys are Arizona AFOs, carbon fiber AFOs, short articulated AFOs, Ritchies, foot orthotics, partial foot orthotics, and Syme and Chopart prosthetic legs. I'm not going to go through what I see on all these doctors, but the most common thing that we see in a lot of these referral sources are carbon fiber AFOs. So that's what we're going to discuss. The two types of carbon fiber AFOs are an anterior strut, which is pictured on the left, and then we have a posterior strut. And what's nice about carbon fiber versus like plastic bracing is it stores energy. And this technology is used a lot in our prosthetic feet. And what we like about it is whatever the patient puts into the brace, it gives it back to the patient. So it reduces energy expenditure for the patient. The other nice thing is that it's lower profile, so we can fit into shoes a little bit better than we can a traditional AFO. The one thing when we're evaluating patients for the correct brace is making sure that they are in the correct brace, because Joe mentioned, the 5-year rule, and that's hitting patients really hard. Is we have some doctors that are just putting braces on people and it's not working, and then we'll go into and they'll be referred to an orthotist process and they need a custom brace. Well, they can't get anything for 5 years. So and this kind of the goal of this conversation is to who's appropriate for these braces. So the anterior brace, it's coded as an L code of 1932. And that just represents, the anterior shell, and it states also it's carbon fiber. The indications of the brace are foot drop, little to no spasticity, and that's key on a lot of these carbon fiber bracing, because if you have patients that have spasticity, they're going to really kind of flex or even break the brace, and they're kind of get a jumping motion from the brace, and it's not going to perform correctly. So we also see limb proficient deficits, mild deficit, partial foot amputees. The other thing that we see a lot of, and it's not mentioned here, but Achilles tendonitis and tibialis anterior tendonitis, just so that we can limit motion in the patient's leg, but still providing them a natural looking gait. And that's the important thing, is still providing those patients with a natural looking gait. Some of the contraindications are severe edema. There's not a whole lot of adjustability with the braces. Leg ulcers, moderate severe spasticity, like I mentioned. Weight limits. We can't really put patients that have a really big in these. They'll break them. They're not rated for somebody that's usually about over 350. And the biggest thing that people, they don't tell you a lot is hip flexion weakness. I found if you have a patient that has, let's say, foot drop, or and they may have had a stroke, the hardest thing with an anterior strut is they're not getting a good heel to forefoot alignment with the brace, because they don't have good hip flexors. So with an anterior brace, you have to have good hip flexors to be able to utilize them correctly for any type of foot drop. Posterior is a different code. It's L1951. And it's just saying it's a posterior strut versus an anterior, and still the carbon fiber. They're great for people that have simple foot drop. plantar flexion weakness is also good, just to kind of limit a little thing. Knee hyperextension control to a little bit. If somebody has genu recurvatum, then this brace is not the brace for that. And mild Achilles tightness. Contraindications are, again, foot ulcers. There's weight limits, again, under 100 pounds, over 350. And we use these for partial foot amputations. So how we go about fitting the correct brace to these patients is first, obviously evaluate and decide which type you're going to use, anterior, posterior strut. Once you know that, then you're going to take a foot length of the patient, and it's just simply taking a tape measure and going from the heel to their great toe, and that will be the measurement for that. Then you're going to get a fib head height and or tibial tubercle height for a anterior strut, and then a shoe size. And then Thrive has their sizing guide, and you fit the patient into that criteria. Once you get to ordering the brace and you get approval from insurance, then you're going to obviously do the fitting. The biggest thing that people don't do on these that I see is they're not trimming the foot plate to fit the actual insides of the shoe. Sometimes patients will, because what you do is you take the insert out of the shoe, put the brace in, and then you put the insert back on top. And what I found a lot of times is patients or referral sources are just doing that and not trimming the foot plate to the actual shoe. So that's very important that it sits flat into the shoe. Then you're going to place your soft goods, which is around the calf or the anterior portion of the shell. Then you're going to adjust the straps to the size of the patient and cut them so that they're not hanging off, and then get a pant leg over the top of it. And then you're going to just see how they do walking with it, and ask them if there's any contact areas that are bothering them. There are fitting kits too sometimes that we referrals or sources will be given that they can try an anterior or posterior brace to a patient before, to help with that decision of going with an anterior or posterior AFO. So obviously there's going to be sometimes adjustments. Hopefully you don't have to do any, but if you do, we want to prepare you for that. One big thing that we see is from the anterior style AFO is they get some rubbing on the anterior crest of the tibia. And what you can do is place padding. You can put the brace onto the patient and place padding on the anterior or the medial lateral side and make kind of a channel for that tibial crest, and that will take some pressure off. Sometimes if you have somebody that has a prominent lateral malleolus or base of the fifth, sometimes you run into the struts hitting that, and simply what you can do is take the brace out of the shoe, put it on the patient, and you can move the brace anterior or posterior and kind of see where you're getting those reliefs, and then mark that in the shoe, and then you'll cut that. And then sometimes what I do, if there is a space, let's say at the anterior portion of the shoe and the braces, I'll get some double side tape and put it on the brace so it always sits down into the shoe correctly. What's nice about the Thrive brace versus any other carbon fiber AFO, and we've kind of found this out experimentally, is you can heat relief those cuffs, because sometimes we'll find that patients in short stature have big calves. You can take a heat gun and very carefully heat the carbon fiber and open those up so you can fit a wide variety of patients. And most companies, you can't do that. So that's a nice feature of that. The other thing that we are working on is sometimes you'll get patients that have medial-lateral instability, and you want to be able to control that. And so what we're doing is a custom SMO incorporated into the carbon fiber AFO. And basically what the podiatrist needs to do is take a cast, and they'll send it to us, and we'll fabricate the SMO to fit inside the carbon fiber AFO. And the other thing that you can do to if you have patients that have partial foot amputations is we can make that SMO that's pictured in with the brace there on the left-hand side. We can make toe fillers to go in there with that. All you do is take a cast and shoe size, and we can fabricate the brace to have a toe filler in it as well. So the coding, as each brace always has their L codes. They're PDAC approved, which is huge with Medicare. So those below gives kind of the price ranges of each of those. Also gives the L code for the SMO inner boot. And I'm not sure how many people are out there that are familiar with coding. And you might see that, I'm saying SMO inner boot, and why are you not doing L1907? Because that's the SMO code. Well, you can't bill a base code of 1951 and 1932 and another base code, which is 1907. So they've come up with the molded inner boot, which basically gives you the same reimbursement as the SMO 1907. The other nice thing about the molded inner boot is that you can also add 2275, which is a varus valgus correction. And we can, on the bottom of the SMO, we can put a post on there to give a little bit more stability, rather if it's in lateral instability or medial instability. And then also there gives the partial foot code of L5020. And looking at something here. You also can do, the 5020 is the SMO with the AFO. So that states that it's a tibial tubercle height. That's what that code means. L5010 you can do, and it will just be the SMO code with the toe filler. Their traditional partial foot orthotic that you guys do a lot is the L5000, which is just an insert with the toe filler. The other code that's nice that you can bill with the AFOs is L2820. That's a soft interface below the knee. So that's all the padding that Thrive provides you with the brace. So I'm kind of going to turn things over to Joe so he can kind of tell you about ordering and some of his contact info. There's also on the website casting techniques that I've done that you can see how to cast for an SMO. And we're always here for questions. So I'll turn that over to Joe, and I just thank you guys for allowing me to talk to you.
Hey, Joey, I think before you speak, I was going to give a little bit of my clinical background for everybody. And, I wanted to share, very interestingly enough, when Thrive came out, they were very, I think, innovative in reaching out to Dr. Lehrman and writing a compliance document for billing and coding and different conditions that you can utilize these carbon fiber braces for. I will tell you that I have been using carbon fiber braces for a very, very long time on a multitude of different problems because I had a much higher compliance rate because there was really not a big problem. I have to tell you, when everybody started using balance braces, and I'm not particularly talking about any one type of balance brace, but when there was a big impetus to help patients who had difficulty ambulating because of balance, and they had obviously musculoskeletal related diagnoses, you know, the whole goal behind any of these many of the bracings were to get you into a, you know, 90 degrees to an ability that you would be able to ambulate. I know when I traditionally started using these type of braces, even before the carbon fiber, but this type of bracing, it was always known as the drop foot brace. And I have to tell you that these braces have far more areas that they can treat than we're actually using them for. What I'm going to tell you with my patients who are elderly, putting on a carbon fiber brace that weighs 2 ounces, as opposed to wearing a clunky AFO that doesn't fit into their shoe, they have to buy new shoes. I was absolutely amazed at the results that I saw with patients who couldn't ambulate well, and this helped them. I also started using this because I learned very early on, and we all know, you can look at the bottom of a cam walker and you know exactly if the patient has been using it. You can look at an AFO and see if it's been worn out and see if the patient's been using it. And listen, they're all medically necessary. We're not discussing that they're not medically necessary, but how many patients are compliant versus how many aren't? And I'm going to tell you, if I had patients that came in with a grade 1 or 2 ankle sprain, that there was not severe edema, it was minimal. I didn't think there was any risk of any tear. There was no fracture. What's the goal of a cam walker? In the old days, we used to talk about transitional care. You know, we put them in a cam walker. After a couple of weeks, when they started getting better, we might have put them into an ankle brace, you know, ankle gauntlet, and then maybe after that we would have done a weekend warrior figure 8 wrap. I got to the point where, especially in the latter part of everything, with same and similar, I had better results putting them in a carbon fiber AFO. We're keeping them at 90 degrees. There's no inversion, eversion when you wear these braces. They fit right into the patient's shoe. There's no sequelae of wearing a cam walker where you had ankle, hip pain, lower back pain. I mean, and the compliance was unusual. So I think if you look at the manual that Dr. Lehrman created on how you can utilize carbon fiber, I use them for PTTD. Now, I will tell you, the SMO is relatively new to me. Kris educated me as we were getting everything together for this training program. And by the way, it's not just when we have a webinar. You know, we do test runs with technology. This one was myself, Dr. Lehrman, and Kris and Joey going over things. And Jeff may not admit it, but we both learned new coding things on this. I only say that because Jeff is my go-to man on coding, and if he doesn't know it, the world doesn't know it. So, but it was really interesting to see, because I'm thinking, how do I want to get my patients better, and how do I want to have better compliance, because that's how they're going to get better. And the revenue is, you know, for me, the given is that we're getting them better, and now we have better ways. So PTTD, low-grade ankle sprains. Obviously, you'll see in Dr. Lehrman's manual, there's arthritic changes. I would use it on a mild Achilles tendonitis, that there's no severe edema, no intratendinous tears, no problems. I mean, I just think that there is a multitude of different things that if you think about it and want to get the patient better and have better compliance, you'll find carbon fiber will fit in immensely well with your practice. Dr. Lehrman?
And I'll add, from the compliance standpoint, Dr. Krauss mentioned the documentation templates. Dr. Krauss also said at the beginning, we're not just looking to sell things here and not only functioning as a group purchasing organization. The same can be said as Thrive, where Thrive Orthopedics is really looking to partner with us and to help us through this process. It benefits everybody if we get it right from a compliance and documentation standpoint. So Thrive has a multitude of documentation templates. of course, we have to modify them so they are specific for that patient and for that situation. But it does, these templates, prompt us to fill in the blanks. And the idea is, I know if I complete this document and I fill in everything it's prompting me to fill in, I've satisfied the requirements of the code. So there's no worrying, did I have everything in my note I'm supposed to have? If anybody wants to come look at my documentation, I know that it's thorough. So Thrive helps us. That's what I mean by, in one way, they partner with us by providing us with these documentation templates, which users really enjoy. Also, assistance with Say More Similar. I am guessing we might get questions on that during Q&A, which we're certainly prepared to answer, but Thrive does also help with that. And just like we said in the beginning, another example of how Taylor helps to not only function as a group purchasing organization, but also bring us cool new products like the ones we just saw that we have available through Thrive. And with that, we'll transition back to Joseph.
I would like to add, hold on, Joe. I'd like to add one thing about documentation is it's very important that after, or when you fit these patients, that you just don't say that we fit an AFO, a carbon fiber AFO to these patients. We have to be able to document what you did during the fitting. So the straps come longer. So cutting the straps to fit the patient is important. Cutting the foot plate to fit in the shoe properly so the patient gets the best benefits out of it. That's huge because what we're finding sometimes is insurance will look at the initial document and say that might satisfy, but it's the fitting too that they're also coming back and looking at too. So just make sure that documentation on the fitting is well done as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Kris. And yeah, we're working on expanding those documentation example resources as well to include additions, customizations like the SMO, and giving you guys the resources to feel comfortable knowing that you're meeting all the criteria for the insurance. And one thing that I did want to mention is that for everyone who is attending live or watches this on the back end, we would like to offer Taylor members a 20% discount. Just mention that you watch the webinar and give us a call, email us, or you can order it through Taylor and just mention it to Taylor, and they'll pass that along to us, and we'll honor that pricing. One time only. But with that said, yeah, we're very appreciative of everyone that is on with us tonight, and I'll give it back to Dr. Kraus for questions.
Joey, thank you very much for that, and I want to make sure everybody understands. It's a one-time offer on an order, so if you need them, order a whole bunch now and save 20%. Don't order 2 when you're going to save 20%. Order 20 when you're going to save 20%. I mean, there is a big difference. And so, Joey, I appreciate you doing something for those who took the time to attend the program. And I think we'll go ahead and answer some questions. I guess I'm gonna start off, Joey, because since something was new to me with the whole SMO. You know, what's the process on ordering the custom inner and SMO? Is there a certain protocol for fitting and measuring? And how is that process different than just ordering a carbon fiber brace?
Yeah, I'm going to pass that off to Kris because he's, he does the custom SMOs, and Prevail will be making these for us. So you'll have a certified orthotist, prosthetist, ABC accredited facility doing these. And not only is he manufacturing them, but he uses them in the clinical setting along with the AFOs. So he'll probably have better insight there.
So there is a order form on the website, and it's not called the SMO Inner Boot on the website. It's called the Supra Boot. And we kind of trying to go off the F3, make it kind of a cool name for it. So that's what it'll be under, the Supra boot. And basically, what you'll need to do is, if it's going to be in conjunction with a AFO, is get the AFO size that you need. That way we can cut the brace down to fit inside there. But you would just need to take a cast and send it to us. Like I said, there's a video online about how to take a cast. I don't use plaster. I use fiberglass material called C-form. It's a little bit more conformable, and it has the properties of plaster versus fiberglass. So you're going to get a whole lot more detail. And we ask you to try to correct the patient's foot as much as possible and into a neutral position. And then you send it to us, and we ask that you do put on the cast the trim lines that you are looking for. That way we can transfer that over. And then we custom fabricate the SMO to fit the AFO, and then we send it back to you guys, and hopefully minimal fitting issues. It is made out of we have different grades of plastic, going from super flexible to a little bit more rigid. And we have samples of those, but you'll have to pick that as well, what you would like. And they are heat moldable. So you can, if you do have problem areas, you can heat mold it.
Thanks, Kris. Just out of curiosity, the casting material that you mentioned, is it like for lack of terms, like a casting sock, or is it just a
it's a wrap.
It's a wrap. And you're just wrapping the area of the foot that you want to focus on?
Yeah. I mean, if we can get as much detail as possible, I mean, I go mid calf. That way we just have, as much detail as possible. But we use the other kind of thing that I like to use is saran wrap instead of like a casting sock. It gets more detailed. And then we have a cut strip that you'll put down the anterior portion of the foot, and then you wrap that around. And when you get into the position that you want the patient, you hold them there, and then when it dries up, you just cut it off and take it off easily.
Perfect. I've got a question. I think this is probably best focused for Dr. Lehrman. Jeff, would you mind describing the difference between custom fitted and custom fabricated? I know a lot of times our members read the codes, they look at the codes, and they think they're doing something that's custom fitted, but it was really custom fabricated. So can you explain the difference so that everybody understands that?
I'm glad that one came in. I've been dealing with some errors with that recently. So let's take a step back even from the way the question was asked. The first question is, was it custom fabricated or prefabricated? Custom fabricated means this device was made for a specific patient, which for our purposes normally means it was made from a mold. So again, the first differentiation is prefabricated or custom fabricated. Custom fabricated means it was made for one person, it was made for one specific patient. That's custom fabricated. Versus prefabricated, which means this was made without, and actually the Medicare language is it was manufactured without a specific beneficiary in mind. So it could have come out of a box where there were 10 of the exact same thing, right? So prefabricated versus custom fabricated. Custom fabricated was made for one person, probably means it came from a mold. Prefabricated meaning it was mass produced without a specific person in mind. But then the next question, and this is where we have too many friends get into trouble, is a prefabricated device. Now think of it going next thing down, right? Once we've answered, is it prefabricated? The next question is it off the shelf or custom fitted? The prefabricated device is either off the shelf or custom fitted. Off the shelf means the fitting did not require the expertise of a certified orthotist or a physician or somebody who has specialized training. Off the shelf, I'm repeating, means fitting did not require a specialized expertise, didn't need to be a doctor, didn't need to be a certified orthotist, didn't require any kind of special training. I think of it as somebody could have read the pamphlet in the box and done it. Somebody could have watched a YouTube video and done it, right? That's off the shelf. Versus custom fitted. Now it's different from custom fabricated, right? Custom fitted means the fitting did require the expertise of a certified orthotist, a physician, someone who has specialized training in the provision of these orthoses. So we could have something come out of a box, mass produced, but then the means by which it is fit can determine whether it's off the shelf versus custom fitted. And if it's something somebody could have done on their own without any kind of special training, it's off the shelf. If the fitting that took place required, like Kris mentioned, fitting the foot plate into a shoe, right? Or I think of the knowledge that the foot needs to be at 90 degrees to the leg when we put a cast walker together, right? Those are the kinds of things that require the expertise of a certified orthotist, somebody that has special training in the provision of orthoses.
That was very crystal clear for me. Can you, Jeff, just to take off on that, because I think, Kris focused on documenting certain things in your note. I know that you're going out of your way to clearly explain the difference. Are there a couple of examples that you might can provide our members? I know you talked about cutting the foot plate, so that would be a prefab device that was custom fitted, correct?
Yes.
So we may want to give a couple of examples for people that you see commonly just in general. If you can, think of anything that's coming up in custom fitted. So I think that would be great.
One, Dr. Lehrman might help you, is what I suggested about the patients that have big calves. You can heat relieve the carbon fiber to be able to fit to the patient's calf.
That requires the expertise of a certified orthotist, a physician, somebody has specialized training, right? A patient isn't going to do what Kris just described.
Perfect.
Perfect. I think that's a perfect example. And not to go the other way, but the error I see a lot is night splints, where the provider thinks because they adjusted the Velcro to fit properly that was custom fitted, and that's not how this works, right? So, well, I had to fasten the Velcro. I had to show them how to do the Velcro. Depending on the device, that's probably not custom fitted, right? Again, if it's something the patient could have done on their own without any type of specialized training, that's not custom fitted. We did give some really good examples of things that are custom fitting.
Great. So I have another question I wanted to ask, and Kris, this may fall into you. I actually think I probably can answer this myself. It's one of the reasons why I use carbon fiber. But is there any specific recommended footwear when using an AFO? I'm assuming they may be referring to carbon fiber, but I personally, for me, have found that I didn't have to change shoe gear with my patients if they were wearing good quality shoes. But I'm gonna leave that up to you and see what you have to say as well.
Well, the most important thing is you have to have a removable insole. These devices are not made to be fit directly to the patient, the bottom of their foot. It's made to go underneath the insole of a shoe. So that's the big thing. And then I always say, if you can get your foot and the brace and your sock in it, then you're fine. And most people have a little more difficulty with women just because they tend to want smaller shoes, and they've always, they've come in. I'm sure you guys have heard this is, well, I've always worn a size 6. Well, you have flat feet now, and you don't wear a size 6 anymore, and educating the patients what the correct fit is, having a thumbs width between the end of the shoe and their great toe, just so there's adequate room. And most orthopedic shoes do it that just fine. I find that like New Balance are really good shoes. Brooks are another good shoe. So the biggest thing is just making sure you have the removable insole for me. I think you're muted.
Oh, Joey, I know it's not what we're talking about today, but we actually got a question that talked about adjusting the IQ brace. So I'm sure you knew that you probably wouldn't get by without hearing about the IQ, since that's where you started in our space. So do you want to take a few minutes and possibly talk about that and or refer them to any websites or videos which I know are available? You're on mute, Joey.
Thanks. Sorry about that. First of all, we are dual coded for both L4396 and L4397. So like Dr. Lehrman said, you could probably throw that brace to a patient and have them look up a YouTube video. That's L4397. Anecdotally, it does seem like there is a little bit more pressure on the 9.6 in terms of, okay, show me your documentation that this was custom fit. And, so if you are going to use the L4396 and, you're going in and you're measuring the tibia and you're setting it to the appropriate height, and you're aligning that lower strap right underneath the tibial tuberosity, and you're using a goniometer to measure ankle joint dorsiflexion, and you're determining the right setting to put them in, then you're probably L4396. But you have to have the documentation to hold that up. And at the moment, like I said, we're dual coded for both. At the moment, they're both reimbursing the same. So I've kind of been steering customers to 9.7 because there seems to be a burden on, okay, we're going to come in, we're going to audit you, you show us all this documentation, when it's paying the same. So I don't, from a practical standpoint, I don't understand why you would invite that headache when you can just do L4397. And Dr. Lehrman, please tell me if I'm putting my foot in my mouth right now. But if you're going to do it right, that's L4396 for or L4397, like Dr. Lehrman described. And I hope that helps answer the question. And Dr. Lehrman, would you chime in at all on that?
Yeah, I mean, I could be very picky as an auditor with what you said, and if they need, right? So the textbook answer, the podium answer is, if they need custom fitting, provide it and code it. If they don't, then don't and code it that way. I would be careful. Again, I'm being very picky with what you said. If they required custom fitting and you performed custom fitting, then we are obligated to document the custom fitting and code custom fitting, and not code the other one just because it might avoid drama, right? But, by the same token, if you do it and you document it right, you should have zero hesitation in submitting that custom fitted code.
And I will piggyback off that. Is in my world, we're getting the competitive bidding things going on, and I've been using the custom fitted code because that's what I do, and I don't want a sales rep coming from Bragg or Donjoy and being able to do the exact same things for that. So if it takes a little bit more documentation for me to do to help my profession, because to custom fit it, that's what I'm going to do.
That goes back to the documentation templates that we talked about, where we're providing you with, if you're thinking, well, what does he mean? What do I have to have there? Thrive is providing you with that. What do you need to have in your note to substantiate custom fit?
And I think a lot of people are not aware of maybe even what Kris meant when he talked about competitive bidding. You all might remember a long time ago that there were some changes that developed in the codes that we very commonly use in podiatry. You've heard Joey and Dr. Lehrman refer to the L4396 and the L4397. There is a little bit of difference in the description. You look at the 4361 and the 4360, which are your pneumatic walkers. And if you look at your 4386 and 4387, currently right now, the reimbursements are identical, but the descriptions are different for those that are prefab off the shelf and prefab custom fitted. And what's going to happen is ultimately at some point, this competitive bidding is where companies come in and submit pricing for their product to CMS, and these codes were made in anticipation of competitive bidding affecting the lower extremity. It's been about 5 or 6 years now, Jeff, that we've had these codes, and there's been a little bit of a lag on the competitive bidding, but this is the first I've heard of it. So, Kris, if they're coming in now and actually starting to talk about that, that also gives everybody the understanding and the foundation of why you need to document exactly what you're doing and whether you're just giving a prefab off-the-shelf device or a prefab custom-fitted device. And that will affect your reimbursement somewhere down the road. So I think it's something that you should start learning about now and understand the concept of it so that when it comes down the road, you'll know exactly what's happening.
Yeah, and on that point, the knee braces and back braces got hit hard this year. So it's happening everywhere else. I don't think they've started going after foot and ankle, but the rest of orthopedic DME is getting hit.
Joey, I've got another question for you. It's interesting. I told you that I started out using my carbon fiber on my dropfoot patients because, those are traditionally what we started doing with. And a lot of times people look at, when you talk about an AFO, there are multiple different types. I'm going to ask you a two-pronged question. Would you use a carbon fiber AFO, Kris, on a patient that had a contracture deformity, or would you do more of a custom-fitted AFO for that type of patient?
I would do a custom-fitted one just because the carbon fiber AFOs are set at 90 degrees, and if the patient can't reach 90 degrees, then you're not going to be effective with a carbon fiber.
And understand, everybody, what Kris said, and I purposely asked him that question because I also told you that I use the carbon fiber because my goal is to get them to 90 degrees, hold them in 90 degrees when they're ambulating, which makes things, usually takes pressure off of the areas that I'm treating, most of which are soft tissue related. But if you have a contraction deformity and you're unable to get that foot to that 90 degrees, you'd be doing the patient an injustice. So that would be the situation where you'd want to use a custom device and make sure they have the appropriate accommodative shoe gear to fit that device.
Or use an equinus brace, get them stretched out, and then, now they get to 90, get them in a carbon fiber.
And then worry about the same and similar when they get into the carbon fiber. Well, we can deal with that down the road. Surprisingly, we didn't get any information. But Jeff, because we do have a minute left before I have to say goodnight to everybody, would you want to consolidate the whole world of same and similar into 1 minute for everybody, just to kind of give them a refresher?
Yes. So there's a long list of products, L codes, that this applies to. And from that list, if the patient had one of those items in the last 5 years for the same limb, regardless of who they got it from or where they got it, any other device on that list falls under the same or similar policy, which means the second one is not covered unless, and the unless is really important because we just went through a situation that typified unless the original device was lost, stolen, irreparably damaged, or there was a change in the underlying condition. Like now they get to 90 degrees. That is a change in the underlying condition. And very briefly, the right way to do it is to submit get the denial, and then submit a redetermination with an explanation of lost or stolen or irreparably damaged or change in underlying condition, and it pays. Now, this is something that APMA and lots of other stakeholders are fighting and have been for a while. Sometimes, almost being funny, people say it would take an act of Congress. This actually does require congressional action to fix. I hope I'm not naive in saying this. I think we'll get there. I also think it's going to take a long time. So in the meantime, these are covered if they meet one of the exceptions. It's just a hassle to get there with getting the denial and submitting the redetermination. They are covered, just have to go through the extra steps for now. Ira, I think you're muted. Are you talking about the next event?
I'm sorry, my speaker. I turned it off mute so you don't hear anything. So I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. As Jeff mentioned earlier, we started doing this in the middle of COVID. It's really kind of become very well accepted. We enjoy doing it. It's been great for us to educate our members on new technologies and ways to get better outcomes for their patients. Our next meeting is in 2 weeks. Dr. Mohammed Sharif will be joining us. He is a critical limb ischemia specialist, and he's going to talk about treating large wounds in the lower extremity. I really want to thank Thrive for sponsoring Kris to come and speak. And Kris, thank you for joining us and sharing your expertise. I want everybody to remember the grateful offer that Joey DeHeer made for all Taylor members who have attended this webinar or watched the video and mentions it to our sales team, that there is a one-time 20% discount on your order. Please order 20, not 2. I think you'll be very grateful with the benefits that your patients will achieve and the ROI that your practice will achieve. So I'm ending 2 minutes late. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Again, Joey, Kris, thank you very much. We all look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks when we talk about treating large wounds in an office setting. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you.